In this video, I will teach you how you can make your first Hibernate 4 Hello World program. So, I have provided the URL to download the source code. So you can click here and download the source code. I have already downloaded the source code and it is with me. So this is the project. In Eclipse, you can import like this: file, then import existing project into workspace, then enter the project directory, click finish, and here is the project. And if you want to create the project yourself, you have to go to the hibernateorm.org website, visit hibernate.org website, click here, then download the Hibernate ORM, and once it is downloaded, extract and include these libraries into the project. And apart from this, you also need MySQL connector jar file that you can download from MySQL website, or if you already have this in your computer, you can copy it here and then go to the project properties, and in build path make sure all these jar files are included in the build path. This is about downloading the Hibernate ORM file. Then we need a database. You can connect to the MySQL database and create the database. I already have this database with me, Hibernate 4, and in this we should have a table called employee with ID, emp underscore name, emp underscore address, and the emp mobile number. So all these fields are available in the project, in this table. So let's enter some data. So it is added, so data is added. Now let me explain you how you can create the project. So for this table, we have a model class, that is employee.java, and it contains the getters and setters for these four fields: ID, emp name, address, and mobile numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have four variables: private int, and it is mapped to the ID field of the table. Similarly, emp name is mapped to the emp underscore name column of the table. Emp address variable is mapped to emp underscore address in the MySQL table, and emp mobile number is mapped to emp underscore mobile underscore numbers in this table. And we have used these annotation, that is column, entity, generated ID, then table. So @entity, it means that this class is an entity class which will map to the table called employee, and we are specifying the table name using the annotation table. And ID is primary key, generated value we are using so that ID generated by MySQL will be used, and column, this column, and then we have getters and setters that you can easily generate or write in the model class. So so this table annotation is used for mapping to a table, column for mapping the entity field with the table column, an entity for specifying a class as an entity class, generated value, the primary key generation strategy, and then ID, the primary key of the entity, and table for mapping it to the database table. And we have Hibernate cfg.cfg file, and we have Hibernate cfg file in the project. So it is actually mapping this employee entity with the database table, and we are connecting to the localhost /hibernate4 database. Username is root, password is root. So this is simple. Then to configure the Hibernate session factory, we should use this code. So earlier versions of code does not work. So in 4.3.0 and 4.3.1 we should use this code for creating the session factory. So load this Hibernate cfg.xml file, then build the standard registry builder, apply these properties, and finally call cfg.build session factory and pass this standard service registry. And to test the program, and this is the utility file which contains this code for creating the session factory, and we have a method called get session factory, which actually returns this session object. And session factory is private static final, and in static method we are making the session factory. Now I will show you how you can load the data from database and print the hello world message with the name of the employee. So for this we created an Hibernate hello world. Then from Hibernate util we are getting get session factory. Then creating a query from employee session.create query, then query.list, and then iterate the data. Finally commit the transaction, close the session factory. So this way you can create the Hibernate program. So let me explain you all this in the Eclipse. So before let's add another record. So any dummy number. So we have two records. Let me explain you this project in the Eclipse. So I already explained you how you can import the project in the Eclipse, or you can also create the project in the Eclipse and then add these library files. And this is the structure of the project. Under source we have hibernate.cfg.xml file. It specifies the information to connect to the MySQL database and create the session factory. So we have driver name, driver class, then database URL. We are connecting to Hibernate 4 database, username and password. Then we are using Hibernate MySQL dialect, and then mapping class. So we have to add this entry for each entity class in a project. So in our project we have only one entity class, that's why I am entering this here, and it is one entry. So if you have some other else, you can copy this and you can write like other table. Sorry. Other table and so on. So for each class you'll have to write this mapping entry. Next thing is to create the session factory, and it is done with the help of a class called Hibernate util that we have developed. And under static block, so we have a private variable, private static final variable session factory, and these are the classes we need that we have imported. So this is session factory, and under the static block we are creating this configuration.configure, then service registry builder, and apply these properties, then build a standard service registry file, then finally call the configuration.build session factory, and this pass this value, and session factory is available. Now there is a method, static method, get session factory, which returns the session factory. Now this is the employee entity class or model class that I explained you. Entity, table, annotation, ID, generated ID, column. So we have these 1, 2, 3 and 4 columns and setters and getters. Now let's see how we can run the example. So we have a static void main method. From Hibernate util we are getting the session and session factory, and from session factory we are getting the get current session, then beginning the transaction, and this is a query that will load the data from the database. So session.create query, pass the string SQL, and after calling the query.list it will fetch the data from the database, and through iterator we are iterating it, and one by one we are getting the employee object, and finally printing the message hello, then employee name. So let's run the example. Right click, then run as Java application, and we have 2 records, and it is displaying hello Deepak, and in the second record it's displaying hello John. So this way you can create your first hello world application in Hibernate 4, which reads the data from database and display on the console. So important thing is Hibernate util class and the way we are creating the session factory. So this is the new code that you should use in the latest versions of Hibernate. Previous versions of Hibernate were using a different code, but that won't work in this version. And we have thousands of tutorials on Hibernate programming, so you can visit our website and learn from these tutorials. So all these tutorials have source code that you can try, and we have tutorials on Struts framework as well as XML, Spring, then Java, core Java, databases, HX programming, the Java server faces, PHP programming, and so on. So you can also browse the tutorials from here. So we have a lot of tutorials on the Java and open source programming languages. Visit our website to learn these programming tutorials. Thanks for watching the tutorial, and also subscribe our YouTube channel.